Welcome to This Just In with This Just In as your host, Justin Corr. This is a show where we take a deeper dive into the stories most important to you with the people who bring you those stories. And today, our guest, a returning Corr respondent, Brady Frederick, sports guy here at KTVB. Brady, thank you for taking the time to join us.
It's great to be back. I've really been waiting ever since we wrapped up the last one. I've been dreaming about an opportunity to go again.
Been creating those hot takes.
Yeah.
We're going to get to some of those. We're going to get to Bronco sports. But first, a hot take about your March Madness bracket. Did you have Arkansas getting this far?
Absolutely not. My bracket's doing okay. My champion is still alive. I went Houston.
Yeah, good. Yes.
And they're a fun team. I think they could get it done for me.
I did the same, I believe. I filled out my bracket in about 10 minutes. I haven't checked it since. So I think I had Houston. But I like that, yes, they're a fun team. Also, they play some defense. That's sort of the metric I've been using this year to pick my bracket. The best defensive teams I had going pretty far. Right now, I'm second to last in my pool. So do not use my metric. Yeah, absolutely. I thought Omaha was due. I was big on the Mavs beating St. John's. Didn't happen.
Yeah, that is tough. I will tell you, my women's bracket was almost perfect. I only missed one in the first.
Whoa.
It was telling me I had like the little fire emojis next to it on the ESPN app. Top couple thousand in the world, and then it just absolutely nosedives. I was in we were working in Sun Valley, so I wasn't watching it super closely. I have no idea what happened still, but that high I was riding at the beginning was incredible, and man, it goes away quick.
They had a lot more chalk, a lot more favorites winning over on the women's side. How far did you have USC getting now that one of the best players in the nation is out for the season with an ACL?
National runner-up, but I had them falling to South Carolina in the title game.
They may still be okay.
They still could. They got our Boise native Avery Howell.
Howell coming off the bench.
Going to have a lot more responsibility if Juju's not there.
Going to see more minutes. That'll probably only help them now. Yeah. You should have picked him to win it all. All right. Well, speaking of hoops, let's talk Broncos. We'll start with the men. Kind of a lot of hype headed into this season. A lot of seniors. A lot of really guys who are putting up or challenging for like career records at Boise State. They end up losing in the championship game in the Mountain West tournament and then missing out on March Madness. Did they live up to the hype?
You know, it's a tough one because a lot of people are going to say no. They were picked as the preseason Mountain West favorite. They return Tyson Dagenhart, legendary Boise State player, one of the best in Mountain West history, one of the best point guards in Mountain West history as an addition in Alvaro Cardenas.
Right.
But I think a lot of people kind of forget what they lost, and that was Chibuzo Abo, who left for USC over the summer, ended up being a massive piece that they missed out on. Just his three-point shooting and especially his defense. He was a guy who would have been able to take people out of the games or at least limit them. Colorado State's Neat Clifford, we're going to see him in the NBA next season. He was a problem, and Boise State just didn't have an answer. Chibuzo probably could have been that answer, and I think he just transferred just so late they weren't ready to replace him, if that makes sense. They didn't have the time to go to get another portal guy. So that's the thing that I thought was tough for their team. Yeah. Still, runner-up in the Mountain West Championship game. It's one of their best tournament runs in years. Yeah. I think they made a good case to be in the big dance. Obviously, the committee really liked the Southeast this year. But
yeah, the SEC, I think, sent everybody and a few of the teams twice.
Yeah,
a few of the teams got two bids.
Imagine being LSU or South Carolina, the two teams that didn't make the cut. All of your other conference mates get in there, and you guys can't get it done.
Yes, that's like showing up to the party and being like, oh, we invited everybody. Oh, except you. Yeah, missing some defense apparently, and that really important to win in the postseason, unless you're all of the teams in my March Madness bracket. Seems like they were really inconsistent as well with the number of seniors that they had. You talked about Dagenhart and their point guard as well, even though he was, just sort of transferred in to Boise State. Did that surprise you, the fact that they couldn't be consistent even with that senior leadership?
I think a lot of the times that's an issue you get when you have such a new team because, they had an awesome core, but like you mentioned, a ton of transfers. I think it was 7 or 8 guys who were either incoming freshmen, coming out of redshirt years, or transfers to the program. So I think they struggled early on to kind of find out what their chemistry could look like, and especially what their lineups and rotations made sense for the team. And I do think we saw the best version of this team at the end of the season when they started to make that. I would say they took a bad loss at San Diego State kind of end of January. The rest of the year, I mean, they were nearly flawless outside of 2 losses to CSU, who, as we saw in the Big Dance, one of the best teams, one of the hottest teams in the country.
Yeah. So I think you can explain those losses, but they had, again, some other puzzling losses where it's like they should not have lost that game, and that might have sunk them. What are you hearing from fans as far as Boise State men's basketball program right now? Are they disappointed, or did they think they had a good enough season to make it into the Big Dance? We're mad at the selection committee.
I think you're always going to be mad at the selection committee. Even unless you get in, but even then you can be mad about.
Even if you get in, you don't like the seating. Absolutely,
It's tough. I think basketball always gets a lot of noise. There's maybe less loyalty than you see out of for the Bronco football team. Mm-hmm. I really have been impressed with this 4-year stretch that Leon Rice has been on with this team, especially the Tyson Degenhart era. I think we're going to end up referring to it as. I especially with what's coming up in the postseason, I feel pretty good about what Boise State's done, what they can look forward to, and it's going to be really interesting next season with everything they lose, how they're going to replace some of these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they got Pac-12 season coming up sooner rather than later, where you got to face Gonzaga twice a year. So, again, they're not in March Madness. They're in the Crown Invitational Tournament.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, what is that? Have we seen that before? No, this is the first year. What is it?
I'm going to break it down for you, man. It's the future, I think, for better and worse. It's a tournament in Las Vegas. It's at the MGM Grand. Going to be, exciting. It's going to be on FS1 until the championship rounds. Then you're on Big Fox. So a lot of exposure opportunities. Yeah,
Fox Network.
Nationwide. And the thing that's really going to set it apart is there's NIL opportunities. The players will get rewarded if the team does well. The champion gets $300,000. They split that amongst the players on the team.
Gotcha.
Runner-up is $100,000. Semifinalist $50,000. I think there's a bare minimum that everybody who participates gets. Around $1,000 or so per player. I got to make sure I double check that. Yeah, it makes it worth doing. Makes it interesting, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun for the teams to go down there. It's going to be around the time when the Final Four gets set, so they're not going to be competing with that much other basketball.
Gotcha.
So you get out of March Madness and you want more basketball, they're going to have it for you. And I think a lot of eyes are going to be on Boise State down in Vegas.
I think what's interesting with this, and we'll talk NIL in a second. Yeah, first, it's all in one spot. It's all in Vegas, a destination, an easy city to get in and out of, and where if your team gets knocked out, it's like, you're still in Vegas, so you can watch other teams play.
Yeah, or find something to do in Las Vegas.
Almost impossible, I'm sure. No, go hit the Strip, something like that. And it seems like it's an event. They got that deal with FS1 and then the Fox Network to show those games, so it'll be postseason hoops. And first year, so you can almost forgive the fact that I think it's 4 teams have losing records that are in this thing.
There's a handful of teams that just barely missed the tournament, and then there are some that are big brand names.
Really missed the tournament,
I think that's, like I said, if it's going to be the future for better or worse, I think this is going to be really successful, and I think it's going to be really interesting if it is successful. Can they up the prize pot? Can they get to the point where a team maybe wants to pick the crown over the NCAA tournament just because the rewards are better?
Yeah, and it is the NIL era now.
Yeah.
I think that's probably big. I think if you ask the players, and maybe someone did, that they would prefer this over the NIT, which used to be sort of the premier tournament to get into the other postseason tournament besides March Madness. I don't believe they have a prize pool. So the players are like, well, if I can go get paid to play in the postseason that's not March Madness, yeah, I'm going to go do that. And it could be, if you win it all, $300,000, for the players to split, which sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I would argue that it hasn't even started yet, and this has already replaced the NIT and the CBI. I mean, you just look at the teams that are in there. Boise State, was set up to be the Mountain West representation in the NIT, and they want to go to this instead. And when you look at it, I don't blame them.
No, and I heard somebody talking yesterday about how, look, college sports was never designed to be big business. But it's absolutely big business, and it's been big business for decades. So now you have the players getting a piece of that, which honestly is only fair. I talked about this with Tom Scott a couple weeks ago. Do you think it's time to just do away with the pretense of the NIL, where it's name, image, likeness, you have the right to that, and you can sell that to, a local bakery like Tyson Degenhart did? Or do we need to just start paying players and giving them contracts?
It's interesting. They got to do something. There needs to be some sort of regulations to it.
Right.
It's so weird to look back at pre-NIL era, and if we can imagine this, if we weren't in the NIL era, you looked at how many Ashton Genty jerseys were in the crowd at Albertson Stadium this season. It was very cool that you could go to the store and get your favorite player as a jersey. You couldn't do that when I was in college not that long ago.
No, they had 3 or 4, if that.
You'd have a generic your school.
I would always get those,
or whatever,
yes.
Or you would go buy them out of somebody's trunk, in a tailgate, and they would misspell Genty.
Yes,
but,
Boise State, Ashton Junty. It's cool. You know what? It's $40. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do it.
So that's what's been really cool about NIL. But what happened instead is that boosters are just directly paying players. They're not actually signing these name, image, likeness deals for the most part.
Yeah.
They're kind of just funneling money directly at the kids.
I would also argue, though, that's been happening for years.
For sure.
At the big programs.
Oh, absolutely.
And now you're actually giving other programs like Boise State sort of a fighting chance to be well, we can pay you here as well. Maybe not as well, but it's it's better than zero, which is all we could do a few years ago, because we were not Alabama or Florida State or Oklahoma or whomever that was paying players under the table.
Totally. And as soon as Boise State gets an alumni base who's got some oil money,
as soon as they strike oil in Idaho City, Boise State contending for a national title.
So, and it's cool. It's great that the players are getting these opportunities, but it is the imbalance is crazy, and it was already imbalanced in terms of recruiting, in terms of facilities. The big programs already had the huge edge. It's been very impressive to see Boise State hang in there and continued retaining Genty, retaining a lot of the guys that are going to stick around this season. Spencer Danielson, Jeremiah Dickey, the whole staff doing a really impressive job. I think for them it kind of starts at the beginning, getting people in early who want to stick around and are bought into the Boise State culture. I think that's one of the reasons you're not seeing them leave later on once they find success.
And the environment, and I think that's exactly how they hung on to Ashton Genty. He was getting paid not as much as he was being offered from other schools, but he's you know what? I like the environment. I like the coaching staff. I like the opportunities I'm going to get.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a lot of playing time. I'm going to get a lot of highlights. I'm going to get those stats that I need to be sort of part of the national conversation, and it's going to end up being a huge boon for his career.
And I hope that other players can look at him and be like, man, that really worked out for him. Maybe I should stick around in my original school.
And again, I think that for smaller, mid-tier programs, now they can maybe hang on to their big stars and be you'll get a little bit more money elsewhere, but you might not ever see the field at Florida State. You're going to start every game here. You're going to, get a lot of tape, get a lot of scouts in, watching you actually play, develop yourself, and you will get paid something. Although it seems like that pay disparity, that money disparity is just getting wider and wider. Yeah. There was some reporter who said they were talking to someone behind the scenes who figured if you want to be a top 25 basketball team now, you need to be paying your team $6-7 million total. It's like Boise State hoops is nowhere near being able to have that kind of pool for NIL. Is that ever going to even out at all? I know revenue sharing is coming, which can kind of help, but
revenue sharing makes it interesting. I just can't. I think we've opened the floodgates, and I don't think it's gonna be back to normal. I can't imagine it evening out. And just to add this, I love my alma mater, Washington State. I love to cheer them on. Sure. They're not getting a dime from me. Not a chance. I'm gonna give that school any more money, especially to kids who are playing sports, who are like living out our dreams. No way. I'm not doing it.
Bro, you already gave them a lot of money.
That's what I'm
called
saying.
Tuition.
Yeah, not a dime back.
You already spent all that money? What'd you spend it on?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've already talked a little bit about football. Let's talk more football. Broncos coming off their most successful season ever.
Yeah,
I would say.
I think so.
I would argue. I mean, maybe
a couple undefeated ones, but it's a different era now.
Being the only undefeated team, winning the Fiesta Bowl, beating Oklahoma, that was pretty great. They actually had a legitimate mathematical chance at a national title this year, and they had a guy in the finalist for the Heisman Trophy, barely taking second. So I'm going to say it's the most successful ever. They're in spring ball right now. What storylines are you watching for Bronco football this spring?
I think the big one is just going to be replacing Ashton Jeanty.
I've heard of him.
We've been calling this one the post-Ashton Jeanty era. That's how much of an impact this guy made. But the thing that's exciting, there's a lot of confidence in the guys in that room. Sire Gaines is the name you're going to be hearing all the rest of spring ball, through camp, through the start of next season. Got injured week 4 last year, but was incredible up to that point. Really looked like kind of what Ashton Jeanty looked like at his best when he was a true freshman. Yeah. They have very different styles of play, but kind of similar trajectories, it feels like a little bit. The other guy I'm really excited about, Malik Sherrod, the Fresno State transfer. This dude was a dog. He had a awful, for Boise State fans, kick return touchdown against Fresno State 2 years back. I know that game was real tough for a lot of people, but he's a tremendous player. I love the fact that he left his school to go play for the rival because he wanted to be a little bit more competitive.
Wanted to win.
But, I mean, you talk about a guy who's going to have a chip on his shoulder this entire season, and he's going to be running angry. That's a guy I'm real excited about.
Interesting to see. Boise State has a long history of great running backs, great running games, something that sort of falls short for them, though, in the postseason against Penn State was that passing game. Does that continue to develop, you think, and how closely are people watching quarterback, wide receiver, pass protection this spring?
I think Maddox Madsen didn't get enough credit for what he did in that game. I mean, they put a lot of pressure on him. Penn State was just a tremendous team, and especially when you get down, you got to force it a little bit more because it's do or die basically every play after we start the second half. So I think he's going to be great. I think people keep forgetting he's still going to be a redshirt junior.
Yeah.
Only played a full season really because he broke his leg or injured his knee a year back and only started like one game.
Right.
So where he's at right now, I'm really impressed, and I think the best is still yet to come. So I have a pretty good amount of confidence in the passing game. I would love to see them get some more weapons in the wide receiver room. Matt Lauder, their tight end, probably an NFL guy.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's going to be a lot of fun to watch him take another step this season.
Yeah, some guys who can create really separation, but that's getting harder and harder to find. And don't forget, Penn State probably going to be a team that could win a national title this coming season.
Watching them live, I thought they were going to do it last season.
It's like, oh my gosh, these guys have a weakness. They're just a lot of ballers there, and they're just really, really tough all the way around. You've done a lot of stories on this. A lot of teams around the nation are not doing their spring games this year.
Very strange.
Why is that?
So a number of reasons. Sometimes they're afraid of injuries, but the big one, they don't want other teams scouting their players. They don't want any tape of what they've got going. That can mean for their schemes, their plays. They want everything to be a surprise when things kick off in late August. But I think the big thing is they don't want teams to realize, like, hey, we've got a really good third-string wide receiver,
right? And
if you throw some money at him, you can have him on your team, and he can play a bigger role.
And some fans might be like, well, you lose your third-string guy. Like, what does that matter? I mean, injuries are more and more of a thing in college football.
Oh, yeah.
Now the season's getting longer and longer. You might be forced to rely on your third string wideout.
Definitely.
Nowadays, especially late, maybe during the conference schedule. And if you got a walk-on instead of a guy you recruited, who you're developing, that can leave a big hole. Broncos will have a spring game.
Yeah.
Here's Coach Spencer Danielson talking about why.
The community being a part of this football team and our football team being a part of this community matters deeply to me. Post-spring game, for our players able to meet fans, sign autographs, that is a monster deal for me. I want that. I want our players to feel that, because this isn't just you out there on the field. You represent this state. You represent Bronco Nation that is behind you through and through. I want those moments. And I want there to be an end to spring ball to where our guys in front of fans now can go out and compete.
That all being said, there are ways to still have fans interact with players without a game. A number of big-time teams around the country are going to do something like that, something closer to like the Pro Bowl, where they have like drills, maybe a 7-on-7, and then they have fans interacting with players after. So like big-time teams, Nebraska, Texas, USC, Alabama, everybody's going to have some sort of like a spring, Pro Bowl festival to connect with the fans. Boise State not doing that. They're going to have a spring game. Will they live to regret this, or are they going to lose some key players?
I don't think so. I think the things we like about football, people who like the spring game, like it's exciting to see a team who's like, no, we're going to do it just because the fans are into it. And like Spencer said, I love the point of get some guys out in the pressure of a loud crowd, and when you're a backup running back and everyone's cheering for the guy ahead of you, or situations like that, I think it's good for these guys to develop it. I mean, they're going to be in some tough situations. They're going to South Bend in October to take on Notre Dame. So
I've heard of them.
You want to get used to playing in the crowd, and it's also just a nice reward. They put a lot of work in. It's a good reminder of how much this football team means to the people out here once you get out onto the field.
Okay. That being said, if they lose like 12 players to the transfer portal, this guy right here, Brady Frederick, to blame. This right here.
Zoom in a little bit.
This guy, I don't think we can do that on these cameras. You and I love our way too early predictions.
Of course.
Boise State, are they winning the national title or the conference title this year?
Well, it's tough to call national title, because if Boise State wins the national championship, that means your beloved Cornhuskers cannot win the national championship.
They are not.
It also means Washington State can't. Although one of those three teams can win the college basketball crown. But we're talking football. I think really if you're at Boise State, you're always playing for the Mountain West championship, and you will be playing for the Pac-12 championship after this last season. I think they've got all the things in place. They've got great opportunities. They've got a really similar schedule. Like, you replace Oregon last year with Notre Dame this season, and then play very similar non-con. And ideally, you get to run the table one last time in conference play in the Mountain West. I think I really like their odds of getting into the playoff again if they can. Replace Genty's production at least a little bit, or take some big jumps in some other places.
Being that one, or at least one of the sort of non-Power Four, Big Four representatives there in the playoffs. Absolutely.
I will tell you this. I think we saw Boise State get a first-round bye for the final time. I don't think the committee's going to do that again. I don't think it's fair. I just think they're gonna change that format. We're gonna see first-round bye SEC teams and Big Ten teams again. I will say this, though. The bye was not good for any team in that tournament. I mean, Notre Dame and Ohio State in the championship, both teams who had to play all 4 games to get there.
I think most of the teams who had byes lost, didn't they?
They did. And, like, Oregon got smacked. Boise State's was pretty decisive. There was some struggles.
All around. Let's talk about some Bronco women's hoops. Gordy Presnell, the best Bronco women's basketball coach ever. And no offense to any other former Bronco women's coaches, it's not close. Did they live up to expectations? Do the expectations need to be higher for the Bronco women?
That's tough. I'm going to say I'd say they would live up to expectations. They did return a lot of seniors, so a lot of people thought, maybe they can make a run. This could be the year they get back to the tournament. They did struggle with injuries throughout, like all the normal team storylines that happen. But the Mountain West is a hard league, and especially the women's college basketball, when you're not a Power 4 team, it's very hard to make the tournament. Mountain West was ranked the seventh best conference by all the metrics.
Okay.
Only sent one team. UNLV, perennial power, had an incredible record. Lost in the Mountain West tournament. They didn't get in.
Jeez.
So it's tough. The expectations. I think they're just a little bit different. I hope no one's mad about it.
No, I don't think so. Again, like if hopefully, they're not like, Gordy, you need to win, 30 games or else, because they're not going to be able to replace him. No, I think whatever they're doing there is great, and really, Boise State really excelling in what some call non-revenue sports. Gymnastics doing great. They're in the regionals. Softball looking like they're going to have a heck of a season, maybe win the conference. Beach volleyball just won their conference.
Southland regular season.
For the first time ever. How big are those non-revenue sports to the future of Boise State athletics, or are they just sort of a cost? Like, how important is it to be good at those?
They're tremendous. The softball specifically this season, that's a sport that you really do get impacted by the transfer portal, and Coach Schultz has done a great job keeping great talent in Boise, and like you said, I think they're gonna have a good shot at winning the Mountain West, maybe making it to the tournament for the first time, and it's been a while at least. I'd have to look it up. Jeremiah Dickey, the athletic director, is doing a lot to invest in women's sports. It's important to them. It's important that it is all the sports, all the student athletes, not just football and men's basketball, which a lot of schools are putting the focus on.
Right.
So I think it's great. I think the fan base in Boise continues to build up for those teams. Tons of people are going out there to see softball right now, especially as the weather gets going.
I would also argue that there are some non-revenue or less revenue sports that if you put enough resources into, they can become revenue sports. So it's like UConn, women's hoops, that is a revenue sport for them. Wrestling for Iowa, Oklahoma State, that is a revenue sport
and the
for
best
those
way
schools.
To drive revenue is to win. Build
to
your
win,
fan base.
And they're taking care of business,
Yeah.
absolutely. Speaking of Boise State administration, Boise State just lost its president, Marlene Trump, to Vermont. One of the biggest fans of Boise State as a university and its athletics teams. Is that going to affect athletics?
It can. It's all going to depend on the hire. And a huge part of Trump's legacy is bringing Dickey in, and the massive success that Boise State athletics has seen in the last 4 years, their ability to drive donations, fundraise, and we're already seeing it on the field. So absolutely. When you get a new president, it always is going to affect athletics. But I think that the board who's going to make that decision is going to see how beneficial the athletic success has been to the university from an enrollment status, from a national branding status.
Right.
And I bet they get a president who thinks that's very important.
Yeah. Well, we'll look for that. Brady, could have talked a bunch more to you, but we're out of time. Sorry. Alrighty, next time. You'll have to save all your hot takes for your third appearance right here on this Just In. If you got any questions, comments for Brady or me, 208-321-5614, text those in. Use the hashtag #Justin. We'll see you next time right here on this Just In.